Hey, good evening and welcome to the Southbridge Town Council meeting, Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. This meeting is being conducted via remote participation. In calling this meeting to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town Council is being conducted via remote participation only. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192 or by the remote information noted below. We'll post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.ma.us as soon as we're able to. A roll call vote is required for all votes that will be taken under this order. Hold on one second. Hold on. I messed that up. Hold on. Hit the wrong button. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Counselor Adams.
Present.
Counselor Daniel.
Present.
Counselor Dow. Counselor Catrona.
Present.
Counselor Jovan.
Present.
Counselor Lazo.
Present.
Counselor Marchetti.
Present.
Counselor Ryan.
Present.
And Counselor Steves.
Present.
We have a quorum. Item 3, consider and accept the town council meeting minutes of Monday, February 22nd, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Steves. I'll go to errors, corrections, and omissions. Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first one that immediately jumped out at me is item number 24. I definitely did not vote in favor of commercial solar on 5 acres. And in fact, the votes for that one should read no for that. It was the same. It was the same 3. Okay. This is phrased really weirdly because the vote for that item on the second half of it should be the same as the one above it. And then when we get down to item number 25, the vote is correct. So.
Okay. So what is your correction on?
Oh, it should read counselors in favor of that amendment were Joe, the 2 Joes and myself, and everyone else is opposed. You've got that right in the first section of that one, but the second one is wrong. So.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
All right.
update it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Council?
Not that I noticed.
Any other councils have any errors, corrections, or omissions? Anyone else? And none. A roll call of those as amended.
Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Counselor Jovan.
Yes.
Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Counselor Marchetti.
Yes.
Counselor Ryan.
Yes.
And Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Motion carries. Subcommittee reports. General Government Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on the 3rd. The item on the cyber grant, the cybersecurity grant, was on our agenda. That was really the only major item we discussed. We did also very briefly discuss the item about getting the airport $13,000 grant, but we just voted to send it up to you guys direct to the council because it wasn't actually on our agenda. So,
Thank you.
I have no meeting currently scheduled.
Thank you. Department of Public Works, Council Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DPW subcommittee meeting was held on March 2nd, 2021. The meeting was opened at 6 p.m. Those attending were committee members, Counselor Steves, Dow, and Marquetti, and citizen member Sherry Bemis. Also in attendance was DPW Director Heather Blakely, Town Manager Michael McCall, Counselor Chair Jack Joven, and Vice Chair John Daniel. Many of the agenda items we discussed are on tonight's meeting. Agenda item 11, the DIJ facility study, that was on our agenda, but Chairman Joven asked us to delay the discussion, but he did say it would be on tonight's agenda for discussion only. Agenda 16 was the transfer request to cover the cost of additional sludge compost samples required by Mass DEP. Agenda 17 was the transfer request to cover snow and ice overtime expenses. Agenda 18 was the transfer request for the sludge conveyor upgrade project. Agenda 19, the transfer request to pay for the Goddard Street waterline repair project. Agenda 20 was the payment to the town of Charlton for water retained earnings. Agenda 22 to ratify the contract for the RMC HVAC repair. Agenda item number 24, we discussed the status of installing air conditioning in the council chambers. As a result, the committee did vote to recommend the council hire an engineering firm to study adding air conditioning to the council chambers. There were other agenda items, agenda 21, maintenance of trees. This was not on our subcommittee, but I got a call from the town manager's office that this needed to go directly to the full council for action. Agenda 23, the Whitewater contract extension under new business. The town manager explained that this contract needed to be extended and asked that we send it directly to the town council. Under new business, we discussed the plans for fixing the roads this year. DPW director said they would be putting out 2 sets of bids to repair roads, one for crack and fog sealing, one for fine mill and overlay. The director also said the work would start this spring. Councilor Daniel asked how many miles of roads we would be repairing, and the director confirmed we would be repairing 16 miles of roads in Southbridge this year. Councilor Chair Jovan asked when the work on Main Street would start back up. DPW director said she heard it would start this week. Chair Jovan also asked when the hearing would take place on the La Rochelle Way tip project. Ms. Blakely said she would send us a notice for the date of the hearing and encourages the public to attend and give support to the project, as it goes a long ways for Mass DOT to hear that we support the project. With that, the meeting adjourned at 7:44 p.m. and there are no meetings scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marquetti. Sir, Catrona, Education and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No meetings planned. Through you, Mr. Chairman, just a quick question to Mary. The roll call seems to be out of order. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilor Daniel sent me a message as well. It should be Catrona, then Daniel. And I think you went the other way. Plan and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on March 1st where agenda items number 14 and 25 are on tonight's meeting agenda. We'll discuss then, and the next meeting tentatively is scheduled for the 22nd of March at 6 p.m. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Lazo.
Mr. Chairman, I have no meeting scheduled at this time. We have 2 agenda items that did not go to subcommittee. They were time sensitive with the work at the academy and the SAFER grant deadline. So they'll be on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman's announcement, COVID-19 brief emergency operations center. Since our last meeting, I updated everyone on the emergency operations center. Our next meeting will be held next week, I believe. But Chief Norman is here. He can give us an update on the dispensing site and any other information he wants to provide, as well as Chief Woodson online as well. Chief Norman.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and fellow councilors and citizens on listening tonight. The EDS site, which is the senior center, where we're doing vaccines given on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, 7A to 7P. Over this past weekend, Roland La Rochelle, our town representative to the vaccine center, organized with the Harrington group, got there Saturday morning, revamped the whole flow of the center itself. As most of you know, Johnson & Johnson was released and they was as a vaccine. The vaccine has been added to the Harrington repertoire. At this point, they opened up this morning, and the flow seemed to be really, really well. The registration area is in the same spot, but if you've been through there, there's definitely aisles and lanes to go through now. It did seem to work out pretty well today. They were a little over 470 when I left there around 4 o'clock this afternoon. The other things I would discuss at the meeting, by the end of this week, they're hoping, actually they already have scheduled about 700 people on Friday to go through the center. So as we've been moving along and trying to make things more efficient over there, it definitely, Friday's going to be a big day. If we can continue on Friday and do 700 as we move through the rest of the next couple of months, that will be really great. And the third thing, Saturday, March 20th, right now it's a 6-hour opening of the center. They're actually looking towards meeting with all their superintendents within the next week or so to say, for that Saturday date to start up doing inoculations for educators. So we got a lot going on. I think those are really the high points of today's meeting and what we've been doing for the last week. We do have weekly meetings on Mondays at 11. Anybody has any thoughts or questions or ideas, please get a hold of me or Andy Pelletier. Any questions?
Any questions of the chief? No? Andy, do you have some additional information you want to provide this evening?
I got a couple updates and a clarification of something I said last week. So as of today, it was the first time that anybody in public health noticed it. It wasn't announced, but the travel order issued by the state of Massachusetts was amended. They now have a paragraph in there that says if you have taken your full round of shots, meaning both shots of the Moderna or Pfizer or one shot of Janssen, at least 14 days prior, but no more than 90 days prior, then you no longer have to quarantine when you come back to the state. Why they put that window on it, I am not sure, but if you travel and come back to the state within the 90 days of taking your final shot, you don't have to quarantine or take the test to go back to your regular life. As of today, we picked up 3 cases today, so we're at 1624 with 63 open cases. Positivity rate did drop last week. I announced it to 4.55, putting us in the yellow. If we can maintain 2 weeks of yellow, we can start making adjustments based on that. One of them I know Town Manager McCall and I have discussed is possibly reopening the town hall to the public. We will, if we maintain our yellow status, we're going to attempt to coordinate that with the phase 4, which Governor Baker has allowed will be on March 22nd. As Paul alluded to, March 11th, teachers, educators, and school staff can start signing up for the COVID-19 vaccine. We are trying to make accommodations. Obviously, it's in our best interest to get the teachers done as quick as possible in order to get our children back into the schoolhouse. So we're trying to make accommodations. We've tried several tracks and we've got a couple of promising options. All stated, one of them might be to reserve 1 day a week just for teachers. That would be for all the teachers in the Harrington Catch Basin. So it would be a long period of time to do it. There's about 3,000 teachers at about 700. It would take us about 4 weeks to get them done if we use the Janssen at one shot. Mr. Roland La Rochelle, working with both Paul and I and the hospital, we're trying to come up with a vaccine plan for the homebound. When we say homebound, we are talking specifically homebound persons, not people who it's an inconvenience to get out to the clinic, but people who cannot leave their homes. We estimate there are not too many of these people in the town of Southbridge. So we're working on a plan to get the vaccine out to them. Last week, I believe it was Gus Steves asked me if I was seeing duplicates, not duplicates, but recurring cases. I believe it was Gus Steve who asked. and I said that I have seen recurring cases. I estimated about 40 of those. I am dead on with the estimate. I came up with 41. I took the list of every single case we've had so far home this weekend, and I ran through that list and dissected it. The reason I say I might have misspoken was because the repeat cases, I found no case that repeated more than 30 days after the initial case. Doing a little bit of research, it looks like the disease can stay in you up to 90 days. So therefore, I cannot in good conscience consider these repeat cases. They would be cases that would have basically been detected of the initial case. So I kind of misled everybody with the statement because I had seen names twice. Having dissected it, I'm gonna say that I cannot find any case that repeated beyond 27 days. So I am not confident that you can recatch this disease yet.
All set, Andy?
I am, thank you.
Any other questions for Andy? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. First of all, I just want to say that I did get my shot last Friday, and I have to say it's very well run over there at the community center, very well organized, and I appreciated the work that they're doing. And I also appreciate you bringing up the homebound seniors that can't get down there. I have had a few calls from constituents about that. The only other thing I want to know is when are all the bars and restaurants in town going to be allowed to open? I mean, I've been to Enrico's and Sturbridge and Teddy G's. Those are basically bars, and they're open. I see bars in Worcester are opening. So, and I've seen things like the Eagles Club in Southbridge, they're open. So when are all the bars and restaurants in Southbridge going to be allowed to open?
The Teddy G's, I can tell you, is it's a restaurant with the alcohol is adjunct to the food. And that's the requirement for opening a bar, for opening a food establishment right now. A bar can be open provided they serve food, and the rule is supposed to be that they cannot serve the alcohol without food. So somebody has to order a meal if they want to order alcohol at the bars. That's what the rule is right now. I believe it is phase 4, step 2, that the bars will open, but I will confirm that before I go further.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the Health Director. Andy, I have a question. Is there any sort of plan for the type of vaccines people are given, or is it just whatever's available is whatever is given out?
The clinic in Southbridge tries to get they try to control the vaccine that they get in. Right now, they have gotten Moderna, and I believe they're using Pfizer. I think it's Pfizer. I'm not positive. Paul could probably confirm. Paul, is it Pfizer or is it Moderna?
So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind me answering that question. They've started out with the Pfizer. That was the first one they've received. The supply of Pfizer's continues to stay constant, but right now the plan is that the Pfizer is being used for a second administration right now. So people that had Pfizer 21 days ago will now receive the Pfizer. Now that Johnson & Johnson is out, that is the course that the hospital is continuing to take. Moderna is kind of being phased out, so you really won't have a choice. It's what they're doing for the day-to-day operations. Johnson & Johnson is probably the one they'll be, actually, I know it's the one they'll be pushing out for the next several weeks.
To a certain degree, they are also subject to what the state wants to supply them. So they are working with what the state supplies, but they are trying to convince the state to give them the J&J.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, Mr. Pelletier. The bar, when somebody or the restaurant come in a place to have a beer, so if that place have food to serve, that customer is necessary to order food, or he can order beer who's not ordering food? What specific, like the law saying, like you have to eat to drink, or because that place serving the food if the people want it?
The law says that food service establishments can be open. Food service establishments can serve alcohol. So most of the bars or locations that are bars with food as a accessory have adjusted their menus so that they are serving meals. Bars have to, or food establishments have to serve meals, and the liquor, the alcohol, is accessory to the food.
No, I understand, but I'm not sure if I understand you good regarding the answer. Again, if his example, Teddy G, they have food there and liquors. If a customer's walk in there, he want to drink, not eat, they can serve him the drink, correct?
They are not supposed to serve them the drink without an order of food.
So that's what the law say.
Yes, that was the guidance we got.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just a couple follow-up things. First, I really want to thank the town manager, staff at the senior center, Kathy Grenier and Pat Haddock, because they are really doing a great job down there. Pat, especially on the phones, trying to assist our residents in town to make sure that they can get shots and get everything accommodated. And she's also taking calls from people from other towns as well to help them as well. So really has been a community effort. And I thank them very much. Also, Harrison Hospital, many kudos to them and the staff there for the work that they're doing so that we could keep this site open. The state, was trying to pull back. We are a model facility there. So some of the numbers that went through, we are keeping track of the number of Southbridge residents that do get vaccinated as a percentage of the total population, and Southbridge does have the higher percentage of residents. Also, we talk in the state and federal government to talk about equity of shots and making sure that our communities that are social, economic, and language barriers, make sure that they can get the shots. So we are working on that. The hospital is recognized that as well, and we'll be working on a program for that. So we are taking all these things into account when we push out this vaccine. It really has been a great team effort led by Chief Norman and Chief Woodson in town here to make sure that we can get through this. As I stated, first order was March 12th, 2020. We're 1 year into this. I don't think anybody thought it would go this long, but we are 1 year. So where we were a year ago to where we are, we've tried to handle it the best we can, and it is because of the team that we have here in Southbridge. So I thank you all on that front. A couple other just kind of announcements. I know I mentioned at the last meeting that we were going to try to do the hybrid meetings beginning tonight. However, Mr. Pelletier had sent us an email asking us to hold off until maybe we went to the phase 4, step 1, which will be March 22nd. In addition, cable companies hasn't done all the training yet on that system, which will be completed this week. So that's why we held off for this week. But I do have noticed that as of March 22nd, any meetings will be held hybrid, pending any other major issues. The last thing is, I want to make sure everybody's aware that there will be a public hearing on tomorrow, I believe it is, for the MIPA Fiscal project. Yeah, I had it up here and I'm just trying to find it. I apologize. Yeah. A Zoom meeting, the Fiscal East mixed use subdivision roadway at Sturbridge and Southbridge. And this is going to affect a parcel of land up that's looking to put some development up there. It is a Zoom meeting that will be held tomorrow at 2 p.m. Take questions about construction of 300 or more new parking spaces at a single location, as well as a driveway. So if anybody's interested in that, you can participate in that. And that's all I have. Mr. Town Manager? You're muted there, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always forget that mute button. Couple of announcements. Mr. Pelletier did touch a couple of them. I do have a notice from Anna Smith letting everybody know that the Southbridge Health Department is offering the Great American Rain Barrel for $25 to Southbridge residents. It's 45% off retail. These are a free, sustainable way of gathering water for gardening, and you can save on your water bills as you collect up to about 60 gallons in this particular barrel. And it's 100% repurposed and produced in Massachusetts. If there's any interest, you can contact the health department at the town hall, and they'll be available. Pursuant to our last meeting, I did send out some information. You should all have it. Councilor Daniel had wanted some grant information. I sent that out last week. There were some questions on the indemnification of disability retirees. I did send that out. As I mentioned last time, I've been working with the WRTA to find out how to get an appointment for Councilor Ryan, and I did get a response since we last met. And I simply need to write a letter, and she could be my designee. And I don't see that I need to have council approval for that. They just said I could send a letter. Unless there's any objection, I've already traded correspondence with Councilor Ryan, and she's expressed interest. So I would like to go forward with that, Mr. Chairman. Additionally, I was contacted by Senator Fatman last week. I have talked to several department heads. He's looking to see if he can help us with some capital requests. So we're trying to find a project. I have a couple already from several department heads. He thinks he'll be able to get something into this year's budget on behalf of Southbridge. So I will be working with our legislators on that. I did let you know that the Mill Street Bridge is open. We are also scheduled to have our cable public hearing on March 25th at 6 p.m. It's open to members of the public. They're invited to attend by remote access and be heard on the topic. And the two issues that are being taken up is whether the current cable operator is in full compliance with its currently existing cable license, and what are the town's future community cable related needs. And lastly, the issue was town hall reopening. As Mr. Pelletier did mention, that we are currently in the yellow. We were going to monitor this at least for 2 weeks to make sure that we've been open, remain in the yellow for at least 2 weeks. And that should coincide with the governor's plan to reopen, or to move us into step 1 of phase 4, which would be March 22nd. So barring any movement back into the red, we will be planning to open town facilities to the public on or about that date. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Council Lazo?
Yes, Mr. Town Manager, on the indemnification information that you sent out to the councilors, I thank you very much for that. The question I have is, has our union presidents been negotiating with you on this, or is this from an outside source? I know that it was brought up to me by a person that's already retired, but my question is, are the unions involved in this in some sort of impact bargaining?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Lazo, I'm not aware that that impacts anybody in the union, because it only affects those people that have already retired, and it's a decision that can be made by the legislative body in the community. So as I outlined in the memo, which I haven't pulled up on the screen, but I believe it's a supermajority of the council makes that determination. And it really comes down to what impact that may have on the town in terms of budget. I didn't put any numbers in there. As I indicated, I spoke to our insurance provider, and they said it's very hard to predict. I did take some time last week, and I looked at a couple of towns that I know have adopted it. Some of them are cities as well. And it really didn't depend on the size of the city or community, whether it was bigger than us, smaller than us. There was no correlation between the amount they put in their budget. Some towns had as little as 5,000. Some towns had 40,000 and 80,000 a year as a line item to cover these types of expenses, because you don't know how many people they have. And unless the council really wants me to do that level of detail in an investigation, I don't know what I can bring back, because each town's going to be unique. I did speak with our retirement board, and as I indicated there, we already have 13 people that could qualify for this. So going forward, any expenses they had, if the council so chose to adopt this, we would be covering their expenses that aren't covered, that are related to their disability. And there's an individual who I know who's potentially going out on this particular type of disability. So that could be 14, and we don't know how many others that you would get going forward. So people might just have a couple of co-pays, or somebody could have a serious injury. So it's very hard to tell. And if you look at the notes that and the materials that I supplied back 40 years ago when the council looked this up, those were some of the main questions that they had at the time, and that's why they chose not to adopt it then.
Well, I thank you very much for the information on this. And I looked at some of these counselors that are on the minutes, and you'd have to be as old as Mark Karen to know these people. But it's interesting reading. Thank you.
Thank you. I do know we had some communication about possibly going to general gov with some follow-up conversation on that. We'll see how that goes then. Any other questions? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was actually going to wait until Councilors Forum to discuss this, but since you want to talk about it now, I have no problem talking about this indemnification right now.
Oh, Councilor Marquetti, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's going to go to general government, or we've already discussed having to go to general government. So because it's not an agenda item, I don't want to get into an in-depth conversation because it'll be a violation of the open meeting law. So it's going to go to general government for an agenda item. We asked whatever counselor, one of the counselors that had asked for it, to give us whatever specific questions, additional questions based on what the town manager provided, so that we can prepare for that. So it is going back to general government. We've already talked to Councilor Steves and Councilor Lazo on that. There'll be an agenda item on general government. And I don't mean to cut you off. It's not on the agenda, so I don't want to get into a long debate about it. It was a informational purpose thing. So,
all right, I'll wait till Councilors Forum then. Thank you.
Are you going to speak to this point? Because again, it's being referred to general government, so it's not going to be able to be spoken about. I'll rule it out of order.
Well, Councilor Lazo just talked about it.
He did state your point very clearly, but we're not going to get into a conversation about it because it is not on the agenda. It was an information point.
That's fine. I'll hold off.
Councilor Lazo?
Mr. Chairman, through the chair, I didn't talk about the issue as much as how did it get where we are, and thank the town manager for the information that he put forward. It was very interesting reading, but I wasn't talking about the issue. I just stayed on task on, how did it come up to us? And it was the town manager's job and his performance I was talking to. Thank you.
Except that the town manager did talk to the issues, so.
I did.
He certainly did. He said that he sent out a
Councilor Marquetti.
Town manager's announcements.
It was his announcement. I do not want to get into further debate on it. I'm not trying to shut you off.
Forum, it'll be my announcement then. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Presentation swearing in. Are there any other presentations? There is no presentation this evening. Citizens Forum, is there anyone from the remote land out there that wishes to address the council? Anyone?
Oh. Yeah, this is Maureen.
Can you state your name and your address just as you would if you were at a meeting, please?
Okay. Sorry. Maureen Doyle, 771 Lebanon Hill Road. And I'm so glad that the manager brought up the rain barrels, because this totally ties into that. So please take advantage of that because it's a great contained way to harvest water. Okay, for the past 2 summers, the end of the summer has been punctuated with the aerial spraying for mosquitoes. Many concerns have arisen about the aerial spraying, such as, what about my home garden? What about my pool? What about area wetlands? At this past Saturday's Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners business meeting, I learned about 2 upcoming bills that address these issues, along with the sprays containing PFAS ingredients and updating the statewide mosquito board to focus more on science. These two arbovirus bills, by the way, arbovirus means arthropod-borne viruses and includes some familiar subtypes such as Triple E, West Nile virus, and chikungunya. Both of the bills that I'm talking about are titled An Act Providing for the Public Health by Establishing an Ecologically Based Mosquito Management in the Commonwealth. And their numbers are SD 1202 and HD 2383. There are 4 co-sponsors for the House bill and 3 co-sponsors in the Senate bill of the Massachusetts legislature. So I would encourage people to contact Representative Durant and Senator Fatman and ask them to co-sponsor these bills and to vote for them when they get to the floor. As dangerous as mosquito-borne illnesses can be, the aerial spraying is causing potentially more problems, and these bills address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Anyone else? Last call. Mr. Pelletier, just a quick question. Could you have the date for the hazardous waste day at the landfill? It's coming up, right?
I missed the start of that question.
Do you have the date for the hazardous waste? Or if you can get it for later on? Thank you.
Hazardous waste day at the landfill will be March 27th.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's posted on the website, correct?
I believe it is. If it's not, it will be tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move into the agenda items. And again, there were several topics that were brought forward that were time sensitive. Any issue that came up that was not gone through subcommittee, I had we had conversations with the chairman of those subcommittees to make sure that they were done in a time sensitive manner, given the implications of what was going on. So I appreciate the chairman of those subcommittees input in those conversations. It's not my intent to circumvent subcommittees, but sometimes we have to move the agenda along. And given our next meeting is not until March 29th, there'll be quite a lag on some of these pending issues. Item 9, vote to accept the fiscal year 2021 Cultural Council grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Go ahead.
Did we pass over citizens forum? I don't know if any citizens want to talk, but.
I just did it, and it was Maureen. Okay, Maureen just spoke. Did you hear her speak?
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, vote to accept fiscal year 2021 Cultural Council grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council to Southbridge Local Cultural Council account in the amount of $17,800 for the dates of service of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second it.
A motion and a second. Mr. Town Manager, do you have this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding, has worked in other communities, that this is an annual grant that comes into the town. It goes to support many of the activities that happen at our community center. And there's a letter included in your packet from the Mass Cultural Council explaining the grant, and I would encourage the council to adopt it.
Okay. Questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
and Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 10, vote to accept the Federal Aviation Administration for Airport Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Program in the amount of $13,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Ms. Town Manager, you want to start, and then we can turn it over to Mr. Clements?
At this point, I could just turn it over to Mr. Clemens. As you know, he's working closely with Stan Tech to get the projects done up at the airport for runway 220. And I'm sure he can answer and explain any of this better than I can at this point in time.
All right, Mr. Clements?
Thank you, Chair. This is a grant that is issued by the federal government back in December 27th, 2020. When they passed their Corona Relief Bill, a certain amount of funds went to the FAA, and the FAA takes those and spreads it across all the airports. Of course, the major airports got most of the funds, but here in Southbridge, they offered us $13,000. It's a grant. This grant can be used for operational expenses, which include such as payroll, utilities, service contracts, debt service, and cleaning supplies. So it's something we can use. There's, basically a grant, and we'd like to move forward with this and have the town council accept it.
Thank you. Questions? Council Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the town manager. This can also be used to pay down debt service payments, as I read under the question. So would any amount of this money be used to pay down the debt that is incurred from our vote 2 weeks ago?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Council Catrona, I would have to look because we made, as I understand it, a commitment to funding the other week. We wouldn't know whether or not we would have to match that $385,000 until we get official notification that we've received the grant, which, although we expect it will happen, we won't get that notification, I don't think, till July or August. Mr. Clemens could probably indicate, but I think it's August. So I don't know that we can go out in anticipation of that and do any borrowing. So I would have to look into that because I don't think we haven't borrowed any money yet on that $385,000.
Okay, thank you. If I could just continue, just to follow up, if this grant of $13,000 is awarded, can that be earmarked to pay down that debt of over $300,000?
Mr. Clement, do you have any answer for that?
Yes, I believe it can be. I mean, again, I think the revolving account, so you or Karen may have a better definition of that, but I would think if the town gives money to the revolving account to the airport to complete a project, that could be considered a debt. You can take funds back out of the revolving account to pay yourself back. It's for expenses after actually January 2020. So I believe even though the expenses for the airport new runway construction is next fiscal 2022, I still believe that you can use the funds, take these funds and use it for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. Anything else, Council? For that one?
No, thank you.
Any other councils? Any other councils? Roll call.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
and Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clements. Item 11, discuss DIJ Management Consultant Services, Town of Southbridge, Mass. Facility and Ground Management Study, Town and School Department Final Report dated January 28th, 2018. The only reason I put this on was, and I appreciate the conversations that I had with Councilors Catrona and Councilors Marquetti, the chair of the EHS and the chair of the DPW subcommittees. I saw that originally that it was on the DPW subcommittee agenda, and then subsequently there was some emails to go back to have a joint meeting between DPW and EHS for this report, and then it was going to be an EHS subcommittee report. And the only reason I put it on here, and I do appreciate the feedback that I got from them, and I just want to make sure all the councils, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. because we had a council meeting of the whole a few weeks ago, and we talked about a variety of issues, a variety of reports, and about priorities that we wanted to do in the town and have the town manager work on, and that I thought we had a consensus that this would be developed into a goal and objective for next fiscal year. I believe that was the conversation that we had. And then I was shocked when I saw him on the agenda and had conversations with the two chairs to pull this, because I think the priorities that we had laid out was, one, the first budget that the town manager was preparing that he had to present to the town, possibility of getting the fire station project on the ballot for June, the roads that we had authorized a lot of money to, that was going to be the priority for the next couple months, and that we would develop this as a goal for the town manager to work on and report back to us after the next fiscal year. So I appreciate the fact that the two chairs had pulled this. I just want to make sure, because I just want to make sure that we were all on the same page when we came out of that, what we listed as priorities. We didn't take any official votes, but I thought we had a consensus. So anybody that wishes to speak to this or think that I'm wrong on what we thought about on that, please let me know. I just want to make sure that we are working on this for a goal and objective for next year for the town manager. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just to go off of this, I did send Councilor Marquetti an email earlier before the council of the whole was even decided to have, you decided to have a council of the whole meeting. This was, I would say, a month, 2 months ago or something like that. That being said, I did bring it up during the council of the whole meeting, put on the goals and objectives. Councilor Marquetti and I had a nice discussion about it, and I did tell him I could not make the DPW meeting that evening on the 2nd. Then he informed me that it had been taken off anyways because of your guys' conversation. So I really appreciate that whatsoever. But I will say it's just not this one. I won't quote Councilor Lazo, but I'm going to utilize part of his saying is we have 3 management studies of different sorts from 2014, 16, and 18. And that's why I wanted to put it on the goals and objectives or discuss it at a subcommittee meeting so we can move these things forward. If nothing happens, whatever it be, then that's what it is. But I want to have at least a discussion. How do we go about implementing this or not, or parts of it? But going on 7 years off the first management studies and then moving forward to just a few years ago, I just think these need to stop being utilized as a doorstop. Thank you.
And I thought we were all in agreement on that, and that we were going to develop it as a goal and objective. And I look back at the goals and objectives that we had set forth for the prior town manager. And that was over 2 years. We had asked for those reports to be analyzed and presented to us and didn't. And then we wanted to develop this. So, and I think we're all on the same page that these reports come out and nothing was done with them. And we had somebody that was great in getting reports, but nothing done with it. And it's not just this report. The town manager did take on the pavement management report and presented a very good presentation. And that was a thought of what we developed for a goal and objective for this next set of ideas, but for the next fiscal year while we continue to clean up. But I'll go to Councilor Marquetti, then Councilor Catrona, then Councilor Lazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said to you when my only intention was just to find out more about it. I didn't know very much about this report. I wasn't on the council when this was done, and I wanted to learn more about it. So that was my only intention. I wasn't intending to vote on anything. I just wanted to know more about it, ask some questions about it. That's all. But I have no problem. I have no problem doing it, waiting, and as long as it gets talked about, that's fine.
Thank you. Councilor Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, we did have, I think, considerable amount of discussion. I do recall the meeting of the whole. There are 3 reports that, as Councilor Adams stated, 2016, the facilities management study. Without going into detail, there's one October 1988, the Bennett Shaw report, and January 2018, the facility grounds and management study. Now, my only intention was just to bring this to discussion. for consideration. Yes, after the meeting of the whole, we had talked about it, but, and yes, I stated that it would come up in the future. Well, my intention again was to only bring this up for discussion purposes only. Now, one of the reports does say back from 1988 that we should not consolidate, but the other two are very critical that we should consolidate. The facility management report, and I'm not going to get into state pages and facts now, in the 2018 report. They're very factual with their statements. So I get it. I know the town manager's busy. During the town manager's search, I do recall him coming from a community where, to the best of my recollection, he had done a budget of almost $119 million. Our budget's a little over $50 million. So I thought it was something that we could bring to a council the whole, hopefully sooner than later, and get it off to the town manager. With that being said, I'm willing to wait, but I don't want this to be another report on the shelf to collect dust. Either we're going to act on it one way or the other to go forward, or we put it to rest and we say, no, this is not something that we're going to do right now. So that was my only intention. I do appreciate the conversations that I've had with both you and Councilor Marquetti. But again, I just want to assure the council that my intentions are just to review everything, the three studies, one from 1988 that I think now can just be, it's not as relevant as it was. The other two are more current, the 2016 and 2018. I've heard from some that this is going to be costly for the town. Well, let's review it. We don't know that yet. I've heard from some that there may be other issues. Okay, we don't know that until the town manager takes all these, reviews them, and comes back to the council with his recommendation. So with that being said, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's really all I have for now on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Waza?
Yeah, I commend both councilors on wanting to have a discussion on this. I think this is the type of thing that you have these reports and they're on the shelf. I happened to be on the council in '88 when we did the Bennett Shaw study. The portion that was used out of that was a consolidation of the business manager in the school department and a consolidation of the town. At the time was John LaFleche, the finance director, and it was one position that handled all the finances in the department. And it worked very well under John LaFleche, only for him to leave, somebody else come in, and it didn't work with the gentleman that came in, and the school committee chose to go back to the old model. As far as the building and grounds, that landed on its head from day one. I can't wait for that discussion. I know that the chairman, Jovan, and I were instrumental as school committee members that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think that when it was presented to us and we looked at the facility and how it was going to work, they could not accommodate that department at the new DPW garage. So that went by the wayside. But councilors, remember, the study, the intent of the studies were to try and streamline to save money. And when the Bennett Shaw studied it and said, this is not going to work or this might work, whatever comes out of the study, it's for us to determine, can we run leaner? Do we have to add or do we have to subtract in management positions? If you look at the ambulance study, another study that was done, is it cheaper to run the ambulance in the station or outside the station? It was just information gathered to basically inform the council, this is what's going to happen if you do it, and this is what's not going to happen. And then we make the ultimate decision. So I think we're in a good way right now with two councilors that really want to engage these studies and the manager coming up with the goals and objectives. I think it's a great opportunity to work it into that portion of our process and procedure of studies and budgets and finance. So I think it's all good all around. It's just a matter of process and procedure on how we get to the table. And I think we're going to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear, the 2016 report that everybody's referring to, that would be the facilities study. Not was because I'm familiar with that, but I wasn't aware that that was part of emergent. But I'll pull that as well.
Correct,
and then-
yes, sorry, Mr. Chairman, yes, sorry to cut you off. Yes, the 2016 is what I was referring to.
Was a study of the town buildings.
Municipal, it says Town of Southbridge Municipal Facilities Evaluation and Management Plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. I do believe that there's the great discussion points. And again, let's come up with a great plan on real marching orders for the town manager, what we expect from these, because there are lengthy discussions on some of the, especially the school facilities plan and the DIG report. So we'll set that up to lay out what our expectation would be. And my only point was just wanted the town manager to try to get through this first budget. I respect Council Controller that you're saying he came from a town with $100 million budget, but this is the first time as a town manager to evaluate our budget and our personnel and our departments and meet with our town department heads and have them. We all talk about expenses and we all talk about running leaner. Well, if our expectation of the town manager is that we want a good, solid budget to make sound decisions. Personally, I'm not a council of one. I'm just one counselor. I moderate the meeting as a chair, but I do have personal opinions. My personal opinion is I want the town manager, just like he did in the pavement management study, to present a well-balanced, detailed budget analysis, unlike what we have gotten in the past. And I want him to concentrate on that so that when he presents it to us and has the chance to evaluate all our departments, because it's all well and good for us to sit here and say, we think there's too many people in this department. This department needs more. Well, that's what my expectation personally as a counselor would expect the town manager to look at to make sure that we can make the best decision. And that's all I was asking, is just give him some breathing room. So I respect the conversations that we had on this. Counselor Steves? I thought I saw you there. Any other counselors? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the discussion on this. I appreciate it. Okay. This next one is, we have the chief of police here, and he'll advise us as why this had to come to the agenda tonight. And I appreciate Council Lazo again for allowing us to go directly to council because of the timeline on this. Item 12, vote to confirm the appointment of Pearl Luda. Hopefully I said that right, Pearl.
Yes,
As a full-time police officer of the town of Southbridge upon successful completion of all medical and physical testing as required by the Human Resources Civil Service, effective date to start on the date of the next available police academy. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
I'll go, Mr. Town Manager, do you have something you want to say first before we go to the chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Woodson made me aware of the staffing situation that he has last week, and told me that Ms. Luda would be the next candidate qualified for the position. He's reviewed her background and recommended her to me, and I'm sure he can give you any details you would like. So we are advancing her name as a nomination to become the next police officer for Southbridge.
Thank you. Chief Woodson?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council, Mr. Town Manager. Thanks for having us tonight. Council Ryan, on a side note, I heard you earlier. I'm sorry for your loss. I just want to circle back now, and I appreciate the town manager, the chairman of the PPP, the chairman of the council, and all the other councilors all for allowing us to be on here tonight due to these unusual circumstances. And I'll get into that quickly now. Back in November, on November 16th of 2020, this council approved 2 candidates to go to a police academy. It was approved for the next available police academy, which was not until March 22nd of this year, which is a couple weeks away. Both candidates were able to pass the PAT. One was on December 11th, one was on December 18th of 2020. And then both went to orientation on February 24th of this year, so a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, only one of our candidates was able to complete all the requirements. There's a set of physical testing that you have to go through. COVID had played allegedly an issue with this candidate, so the candidate was unsuccessful. So as next man up, next woman up, next person on deck. That's Miss Luda. So what happened, she took a makeup orientation last week on Thursday, took the physical, passed the PAT, passed all the physical requirements. She's now ready to go. A little bit of background on Miss Luda. She has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She's a substitute teacher at our high school. She worked as a dispatcher for a neighboring police department. She was a teacher's assistant. She was an intern at a district courthouse in Worcester while she was in college. She speaks 5 different languages. She has an impeccable background. I highly recommend her to fill this position, which is a budgeted and existing position. That puts us at 35 police officers working the street right now. 1 is on field training. And we would have 2 police officers going to the academy 2 weeks from today, March 22nd. So again, it keeps us at that 38 police officers, but only 35 are working. And again, I appreciate and I thank the council for making this exception. I hope Ms. Luda is approved tonight.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the chief? Counselor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, well, through chief or to Ms. Luda, what other 3A languages do you know?
I speak Swahili. Then there's a tribe language named Luo. Then my family is blended, so I'm learning Spanish as well. That's English.
That's pretty impressive. I just saw it when he said 5. I just saw 2 up there, which is obviously will mix well with our community as well, which is great to hear and see. And I just want to say thank you for being prepared at the last possible minute to take the physical fitness test, because not a lot of people would be ready for something like that. So you have my support on this nomination, and I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Anything else you want to say, Ms. Luda, to the council?
I would like to thank the council members and the chief for giving me this opportunity to work for Southbridge.
Thank you. I just want to echo Councilor Adams' point that kudos to you for being prepared, because it just shows that your level of commitment to wanting to be a police officer in the town of Southbridge. You were willing to make sure that at the last moment, you were able to go and to accommodate that. And I'd like to thank the chief for getting this through as quickly as possible, and you doing what you did so that we can have those valuable slots, because we know how hard they are to get those slots and keep those slots and keep police officers. I wish you the best of luck at the academy and look forward to you out on the streets of Southbridge.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Roll call.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
and Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Normally, Ms. Luda, we would have you come and, be recognized, but congratulations on your
Welcome
appointment.
aboard.
And good luck in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much.
All right, congrats. Congratulations. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Item 13, vote to accept the 2021 Cybersecurity Awareness Program Enrollment Agreement for online cybersecurity training services with all costs covered by the Commonwealth through the term of the program, which runs through December 31st, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a motion? I'll go. Council
Second.
Catrona moved it and Council Lazo will second it. Mr. Town Manager? And I think Mr. Canoia is on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned at subcommittee, I received an email about a week and a half ago alerting us to a second opportunity to apply for this grant. It was the first time I recalled seeing it, but nevertheless, I forwarded to our IT manager, Mr. Canoia. We had a brief conversation about it, and he decided to go forward and apply for this. And in short order, we were notified that we did receive this grant. I think it's a great opportunity for the town, given all the issues that are out there with cybersecurity. And at that point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Canoia. He can give you any of the details and explain to you what exactly it can do for us.
Good evening, Will.
Good evening, through you, Mr. Chairman. So this grant is a program that the state runs with, it's the second year they've done it. I believe there's about 80 communities that have been involved with it. It's a training program with the curriculum set up by the state. It's run by a company called Proofpoint, which is one of the top cybersecurity companies. In fact, it's also our email filtering company on our town email system. But anyway, so what this program is going to do is over the up until December, I believe, is monthly little snippet trainings that will send emails to town email users, which will give them little trainings that they have to do, maybe 10 minutes a month kind of thing. There are, I believe, 3 modules they'll have to complete over the course of the year. They'll also do some email phishing testing where they'll send out an email to various users, and if they click on it, they'll be instructed they have to take a little course on what they just did, because in fact, they could have opened up ransomware or viruses into our system. So it's a good little refresher it's a good little awareness tool for everybody. In fact, it's very similar to something I was going to bring forward this year that would have cost us money. But this is a very, very similar program that the state is doing for free. And in the end, if we reach certain goals of participation, in other words, the people who are requested to take these 10, 15-minute trainings, if they do, we can receive Maya credits on our insurance. And that's pretty much it.
Any questions, comments? Council Steves?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out this came through Gen Gov last week and we did unanimously approve it.
My apologies, Council. Thank you. Thanks for your introduction. Anybody else? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Laza,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
and Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 14, vote to recommend that council pursue applying for the Massachusetts Electric Vehicle Incentive Program Mass EVIP grant for public charging stations to be located at the municipal parking lot at Elm Street rear, Skip Library at 236 Main Street back parking lot, Town Common on Crystal Street, and the Registry of Motor Vehicles at 6 Larisville Way. Is there a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Adams. This is a revisit of an earlier topic through plan development. Council Adams, do you want to comment on your?
Right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, it was voted on the March 1st meeting unanimously 5-0. And obviously we came up with 4 different locations. I believe 2 of them were the same as the original motion, and 2 are brand new. Things that we'd have to come to visit down the road would probably be the one at the town hall, what the town manager and the team need to do with that. But these are locations that we saw best for the town to grow in the future. Some of the discussion was about how many electric cars we have actually in this town. And it was a great discussion about that, but we also looked at the future of our town and what's going to grow into. That includes bringing people from the outside of our border walls here and, utilize our services with our town. So, that's all I have for right now.
Any other councilors, comments, questions? Council Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, just a couple of quick questions. And Councilor Adams, I certainly apologize for missing that meeting. I was out of town. Just a couple of things that to bring to the council. If we all look at our National Grid electric bill, on there's an electrical vehicle charge of 11 cents. Now, what that plays into it, it's a very minute amount. I get it. But one of my points is through a grant, we all pay for it somehow. And we're all pay for this in the national, and part of it through our National Grid electric bill. there's a service that's available if you go on AMP Up. And I saw that because the hospital has 4 electric car chargers. Now, those are open to the public if you go to the hospital for a procedure, or if you're visiting the shop there, or if you're shopping at the hospital, or if you're there for a medical reason. They're also available. So there's also 2 off the Mass Pike in Sturbridge. Charlton has 2, Putnam has 2. Again, if you take a look at the AMP Up site, it's very specific. My concern, a couple concerns are is this an oversaturation for the town? Now, I know we're applying for the grant. We may only grab 1 of the 4, 2 of the 4. I like the idea of putting 1 in the registry parking lot. My own opinion, I'm not so sure. Taking away a parking space from a deli down by the police station is a good idea. I know we hashed it out last meeting, and taking away a parking space at the library. So those are some of my concerns. And, you know, I don't know if the economic development is there now and or will be in the future to support all of these charging stations with only 4 registered vehicles in the town of Southbridge. So that's my opinion on this for today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council. Council Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. It's not about the 4 cars in town, about bringing people from out of town to visit our town and have different activity or visit different stores or do some business in town. We're not really focusing too much about people living in town because they will have a station probably at their home. So we're looking to get some cars or customers or from out of town. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other councils? Council Lazo?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Councilor Adams for bringing it up again. I know that it gets frustrating when you're a subcommittee chairman and people don't show up at your meeting. And then, like, I was one of them. I apologize for that. I was taking a state exam, but to the reality of who we are and what we do is about public service. And yes, it's a grant. And usually in government, you try and go get your piece of the grant, that 11 cents, which, you know, we want to go out there and have a charging station to make that 11 cents come to Southbridge. I'm a big fan of making Southbridge a destination. Try to cater to business and other things they're looking at to bring people to the destination, such as saving the registry of motor vehicles, makes it a destination to come here from other towns. And with that comes public service. And if people have electric cars, this is a thing for the future. Yeah, we don't have a lot of electric cars. It's coming, whether we like it or not, it's coming. So for me, being a leader in certain areas, this is one area I'm kind of curious. And as a destination, Southbridge should be one of the leaders in it to provide these stations where when people say, I have to charge my car, oh, don't worry, Southbridge can service that. And as they come here to the registry of motor vehicles, or if we get back to concerts on the Common, or various other things as a central, the fire station behind the Edwards building, everything, if it's a destination, it's walking distance. I know the one at the town hall is utilized. I'm not a fan of the location because we don't have a lot of parking for the service to the town hall, which the manager said we'll be working on that, not getting rid of it as much as moving it to a different location in the same area of the town hall. I think this is an opportunity to get a little adventurous, a little vision, and maybe with some more economic development that we could create a better destination, such as Putnam did, and then these stations would have great value. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate, I know I heard it twice from Councilor Catrona and then Councilor Lazo about the meetings and all that kind of stuff. I think, first of all, it was great discussion on that day. Good arguments to be had. And it was before that, my frustration, obviously, as subcommittee chair and Councilor Lazo was one of those things where we push it and we try to think outside the box, and maybe it doesn't always fit the mold that people are working on. But I will say I have no problem with the risks that we may be taking in the near future. Hopefully it will not cost the taxpayers or our town a whole lot of money, but the fact is we're taking that risk, we're taking that chance, we're looking at the ability of the town to grow within the future, but while at the same time holding on to the history that made this town so great. So thank you, appreciate it, that's all.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. As I said before at the meetings that, more electric car stations encourages people to buy electric cars, encourages people to visit Southbridge. Electric cars are the future. General Motors recently announced that they were going to start making exclusively electric cars. In the end, this is going to help climate change. If we don't do something now, and we're all going to pay the price for climate change. And I also think about it this way, Southbridge has always been on the cutting edge or the forefront of technology. Look at what went on down at the AO with their contributions to eyewear and safety products, medical devices, scientific instruments, defense technology. We've always been on the forefront of technology. This town is called the eye of the Commonwealth, a little town that could. So why don't we show the Commonwealth that we can do this and go electric? So I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea, and I think we should let it fly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? And none, roll call.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steve,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
No.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
and Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Motion's carries 8-1. Item 15, vote to approve the MIIA's health and dental insurance renewal for Blue Cross Blue Shield plans effective July 1, 2021. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Councilor Steves, this went through your subcommittee first.
Yeah, actually it did. And we did recommend approval unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We, I believe, have Melissa Zawadsky here this evening. She helps coordinate the town's insurance, and based on the information we received this year, I think we're in a good position relative to what rates could have been, and she can answer any questions and provide you any further details that you may need. So with that, I would turn it over to Ms. Zawadsky, our treasurer collector.
Melissa?
Through you, Mr. Jovan, thank you. I think we did pretty well this year with our rates. We came in below the median range for Maya, our insurance provider. So our experience, our employees are getting healthier, so that's a good thing. So the average for the communities that are part of Maya was 2.9%. We were offered 2.46% with a bonus of a 0.5% discount, bringing us down to the 1.95, which I realize is not 1.96, but I think there's a rounding when they do the rates. But those are our final rates because we will be offering vision because we're going to bundle both dental, vision, and eye for our employees, which is additional benefits to the employees and doesn't cost the town anything to provide that. It's just a little more sign up and work here in our office. And of course, it does save both our employees and the town the 0.5% increase in the premium. In addition to that, savings, Maya, again, for the second year because of COVID, is offering a premium holiday. This year, the holiday will be a full month, which means at the current ratio of split of the 40-60% that we have with our employees, the town will stand to save roughly $250,000 in premium costs for that 1 month of savings. So if you look at the total cost of health insurance for the year, we're actually going to have a decrease this year because we get to skip 1 month of premiums, both as the employer and the employees. And I think I remembered to tell you guys everything this time, but unless there's any questions.
Questions? Questions? Comments? Concerns? Roll call?
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
and Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 16, vote to approve a transfer request from account number 600. I'm sorry. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it. Item 16, vote to approve a transfer request from account number 600-440-574100, insurance premiums, property liability auto, to account number 600-440-530700, testing and evaluation, the amount of $809 to cover costs associated with 3 additional sludge compost samples required by the new Mass DEP compost permit. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Councilor Steves, DPW subcommittee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This did go to our subcommittee and we voted 4-0 to send this up to the council for approval.
Thank you. Any additional comments you want to make before we turn it over to councilors? No? Okay. Any questions, comments?
I'm good.
Catrona?
Unless Heather wants to explain this.
I just asked and she didn't say anything, so I don't know.
It's sometimes it's hard to understand with this remote thing,
I will yield to Ms. Blakely.
Yeah.
I will give a brief explanation. When we did the contract with Veolia last year, they included 1 sample in the contract because that was what was required at the time. The DEP has since required us to change our sampling program to be quarterly. So there are 3 additional samples required. We did have some money in the budget as a safety in case we had sampling, but it isn't enough to cover all 3 samples. These samples that we're required to take are for PFAS. I know everybody's heard that term recently. So that's to make sure that our compost is in compliance with PFAS so that we can continue to sell this compost.
Any questions? Comments? Questions, comments? Council Catrona.
A quick question, Mr. Chairman, through you, possibly to the town manager or to Ms. Blakely. Was this recently installed?
We have been composting at the sewer plant for many years. The requirement to test for PFAS is a new requirement that DEP has put on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was on the wrong agenda item. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
and Counselor Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 17, vote to approve a transfer from account number 001-495-529000 special services to account number 001-495-53100 overtime snow and ice in the amount of $10,000 to allow for in-house overtime expenses for treating and plowing of roads.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, seconded by Councilor Dow. DPW subcommittee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, we voted 4-0 to send this up to council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Remarkably, even with the increased snow that we've had this year, we have done very well in our snow and ice budget. However, we were getting very close on our salary line item to not having enough salary if we had a couple more bad storms, enough money in the salary line item. So I'm recommending transferring from our specialized services over to our salary just to make sure that we can cover any salary expenses going forward. I'm hoping that we have no more storms and that we will have excess money in our snow and ice account.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councilor Daniel.
Mr. Chair, there's a difference in the account numbers from the agenda item to what's in our background information.
Hold on. What account number?
Transferring to account number 001-495-53100. In the background information, the account number is different. It's 513100.
Okay. All right, just make sure that we have the right account. Thank you, Councilor Dan. This is copy and paste from DPW, so we probably missed it at DPW as well. So, all right. Any other questions, comments? Roll call.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
and Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 18, vote to approve a transfer request from account number 6000000 sewer certified retained earnings to account number project 64875 in the amount of $300,000 for the sludge conveyor upgrade project. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, second by Council Dow. Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was also voted 4-0 by the DPW subcommittee to send it up to council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Sure. So as you all are aware, we have done an upgrade at the sewer plant regarding our sludge. There are two conveyors that were existing conveyors that were reused for a couple of years. These conveyors are belt conveyors and require regular maintenance every 5 years. After looking at the regular maintenance of what they would do require every 5 years of being almost $175,000 to $200,000 themselves, and the fact that the operation of the conveyors isn't great for our new dryer sludge. We've had lots of operational issues. We looked at changing the operation of our conveyors. What's being proposed now are screw conveyors. They're a different type of conveyor. It's not a belt conveyor. The screw conveyors will just be able to discharge directly into a bin or a truck or any type of device in the future if for some reason we don't compost anymore. This does away with the long conveyors system that we have currently in place. This project was started in design last year. We put it on hold when we realized the cost of the project. We didn't have enough funds, and we're waiting until the certified retained earnings came through so that we could go to the money from the sewer plant with our retained earnings to transfer money out. So that is why at this time I'm coming to ask for that to be done, that transfer. We're already 75% done the design. We're hoping to finalize bid plans and get that out very soon this spring to start working this summer.
Councilor Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to either the Ms. Blakely or the town manager. Does this conveyor currently works right now, operational?
It's currently barely operational. I actually got a provisional operational plan from the sewer department just last week saying that they are very concerned that the conveyor isn't going to continue working long enough. These conveyors do require regular maintenance of the rollers to be retooled and realigned. And it was basically decided that we weren't going to do that maintenance because it's so costly. It's already been done once when I was here, and it's very expensive, the process itself. Basically, you rebuild the whole interior of the conveyor, new rollers, new belts, new everything. Basically, the only thing that stays is the motor on the end. It was selected to shorten the conveyor run, to change it to being a screw conveyor, a different technology, as opposed to the belt conveyors. So it is operational currently. However, the operators of the plant have told me that we are on borrowed time with the current conveyor.
Okay, thank you. If I can continue. Did we ever see an estimate to rebuild versus replace? Or have you seen that estimate?
Well, I know the previous time when I was here a couple years ago, I think it was right when I started, it was close to 200,000. It was over 150,000, I believe, to rebuild the conveyor.
Okay, but we have nothing in front of us to gauge that off of now.
We had selected to go down this path because it's not the right technology anymore. Our sludge, when we had belt filter presses, was much wetter. It didn't cause us operational problems. Now what happens, because it's more dry, like a dirt, almost like topsoil, when it comes out of it actually clogs up the rollers and the conveyors. It falls off, it causes clogging problems. And we're wanting to try to plan for the future. We do see a day in the future that we won't be composting. I think everybody is aware of all the new regulations that are coming out. And this is a way that we'll be able to discharge our sludge directly into a truck as opposed to bringing it out into our compost building. It's a different discharge location. The whole redesign of our conveyor system.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Marquetti, did you have something?
Yeah, I would just like to say a couple things. First of all, I know that it's a lot of money, but it is coming out of earned money. So some people have said that it shouldn't come out of there, but our retained earning, it shouldn't come out of there. But I don't really see the difference where it comes from, retained earnings or capital funds or stabilization, as long as, you know, we can get this work done. The other thing I wanted to know is this going to help with the problem with the smell down there? A lot of people complain about the smell. I just want to know if it's going to help. Go ahead.
I don't think that the conveyor upgrade itself will help with the smell.
All right.
There's other projects that are going on right now that could help with the smell. In the future, if we do away with composting, that source of smell would change. But at this time, the compost is the main, there's multiple sources of smell. Changing the conveyors is not going to change anything with the compost smell.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other councilors? Any other councilors? Well, thank you, Heather, for bringing a solution to that. I know we've been talking about it for at least 2 years that I can recall. And I think maybe even when Councilor Nash was here, I think we started talking about it back then. So it's been a long time coming. So hopefully this will solve whatever issues that you have. Roll call.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
and Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 19, vote to approve a transfer request from account number 610-450-574-000 insurance premiums in the amount of, I'm going to have the corrected amount because there was a mistake on this. Should it be 6285, not 6825? 6285. I know we caught it as DPW, but I think we missed it when we went over to the town managers. Am I correct on that, Council Marquetti? We are correct, right? Yeah.
No, as far as I know, that's what it says, 6825.
No, it should be 6285.
Okay.
6285. And from account number 610-450-583-000-91250 capital reserve in the amount of $3,493.16 for a total transfer of $9,778.16 to account number 610-450-570 other charges and expenses, prior year encumbrances to cover costs associated with an invoice for Goddard Street water line and repair for hazardous waste cleanup. Is there a motion? Second. Motion by Council Dow, second by Council Steves. Council Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This did go through DPW and we voted 4-0 to approve it for council. There was an amendment to it, depending on a total amount. We were missing some money on it. Heather did include it in tonight's package where that money was coming from. Apparently there was a 15% markup for the engineer to hand us a bill. I do think that, when we have these agenda items, that we should have everything in front of us before we vote on them. There should be nothing missing. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say that kudos to the DPW subcommittee for finding that error and asking for the clarification. And that clarification has been made tonight.
Right.
So I think all that information is there. So I just want to make sure that for the record that's why we do vet stuff in subcommittee. And if there's issues or whatever, so that full council can be fully apprised, and the information is there tonight. So thank you, Heather, for providing that information. So and it's all included in the packet. So Heather?
So I know some of you weren't on council, but back over a year ago, we had a water main break on Goddard Street that when we went to dig to repair the water main, it was quickly noticed that there was contamination below grade. That made us have to stop and basically we organized, get ourselves an LSP on an emergency basis to come down there to oversee, because it's a requirement when you encounter anything of hazardous waste of that nature. Well, any hazardous waste. So we contacted CMG. They are a local firm. They're in Southbridge. They were able to come and provide us with oversight as well as the services immediately for a disposal location for both the water and the soil that we were encountering. They did work hand in hand so that we could get the water back to these people. I mean, we did have about 30 people without water for over a day. We did have a bypass running for them, but to get service back to them as quickly as possible. At the time, we did receive one bill, and then they never sent the second bill, and it was just missed when we were doing end of the year things. The bill came in around Christmas time. I did some checking into the bill and made sure that we hadn't already paid it. And I did not recognize that there was the markup. Markups are custom in the engineering fields. There's a lot of people that put markups on their subcontractors, especially when there's going to be a large subcontractor like this on the thing, going forward. So I should have expected that could have been the issue. It is a prior year expense. That is why we were moving it into that prior year account so that we can track it as that.
Thank you. Questions, Councilor Ryan?
Mr. Chair, yes, to you actually, as a point of clarification, if we're paying a prior year bill, should it be a 2/3 vote?
I'm going to defer to Karen. Karen's on the call. Sometimes it depends if it was appropriated or not.
Yeah, that's my question. I was just generally wondering.
I was wondering the same. I was going to ask Karen. Karen, does this motion require 2/3?
Generally, I don't know if it's just, I don't know if the part of that law applies to the enterprise funds or not. That's the only thing I'm not sure of. We can do it as a 2/3. It would never hurt.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
All right. Thank you. Councilor Steve?
No.
Anything else, sir? Councilor Hauser, did you have anything? The other councilors? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Turvan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
and Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, so they made the 2/3, so we're on. Item 20, vote to approve a transfer request from account number 610000 water certified retained earnings in the amount of $49,162.02 to account number 610450-569300 Charlton IMA payment to allow for required payment to Charlton per the IMA agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Council Ryan, second by Council Dow. Council Marquetti?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did vote 4-0 to send this up to the council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Yes, this is the calculation of our yearly reckoning of our funds with Charlton. As part of the IMA agreement, they get a percentage basis of our certified retained earnings from the prior year. And that's based on the amount of revenue that they bring in versus our revenue. That this year, that percentage was just about 9.04%. In addition, we hold back any payments that their residents haven't made for us. So we are holding back $17,437.11.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? So Heather, just one question that I have. So when we hold it back, do you have to come back to council to send that additional over? How does that work?
So they, we hold it back and it becomes our funds. They do their own collections from basically the end of the year forward.
Okay, thank you.
They put their own liens out.
Okay. Council Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Blakely. I'm not sure if you brought that up last year, but it was good to hear it this year that we actually get to hold some of that money back from their residents who failed to pay. So that's good to hear. I know we had a heated discussion last year about this whole IMA. So thank you for letting us know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lazo?
I'm going to be voting in favor of this, although I think that whoever negotiated this was not the intent when we bought the water company. And I was on that council, and paying Charlton for something that we're supplying, it just never made sense to me, but I understand that it's an agreement between the two communities, and we will approve it, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Council Marquetti?
Mr. Chairman, through you, I believe that we are charging them for the water use, but this is when we get the payment, it earns money, and so we pay them on the retained earnings. Am I correct, Heather? Is that what this is? It is an agreement. We can't get out of it, I guess, so.
It is completely in the IMA agreement. We've already had a legal battle with them previous to this. So this is pretty much what we have settled on. It is only on the retained earnings. It is based on what any money that we had over and above that we collected that we didn't spend in the water department. So for that one given year. So it's basically the money, we collected $100, we only spent $90. They're getting their 9% of that $10. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will say that they are in charge, just so it's clear, we do supply them water, but they are in charge of their own infrastructure. And that is where most of our, in town, when we have our retained earnings, we use it on infrastructure projects and infrastructure improvements to the water department, to the water system. They have the same costs going forward because they have their own infrastructure now because they are in charge of the infrastructure in Charlton. So they have to pay for their own repairs out there. So that's where this money is basically slated for.
Okay, so basically, I guess I didn't have it absolutely correct. I mean, it's not money that we're earning off their payments, but it's money that's left over. Okay, I get it now. I understand a little bit better now. The only thing that I did make a comment at the meeting was that, they got a lot of money from Exxon, like $30 million. We didn't get in on any of that, which we should have, because without us, that $30 million would have never done them any good. The other thing is, when I asked if we would consider raising their rates, and you said that we couldn't do that because we have a contract. But that one doesn't make sense to me either, because I mean, you raise the rates on town water and sewer users, so.
They pay the same rate as Southbridge. That's in the IMA agreement.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Council Lazo?
Shame on the council that gave up the infrastructure. When we purchased the water company, what the plan was and what was implemented today is not the same thing, but it is an intermunicipal agreement. We are bound to it, and I understand it, but I have to float that out there, because if the people that were on that council saw what happened to this water supply, it's not the way it was laid out to be run or done. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any other councilors? Questions, comments? Thank you, roll.
Counselor Dow,
Yes.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
and Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 21. Vote to approve transfer request on account number 001499-52100-499 electricity DPW to account number 001499-533100 maintenance of trees in the amount of $2,500. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion by Council Lazo, seconded by Council Catrona. Council Marquetti,
This
go?
did
No,
not
right?
go through DPW, went straight to town, to the council.
Thank you. Heather?
So I apologize for the quick movement to this to council. In our windstorm last week, we had a tree blow half over. Thank goodness only half over, I guess, because we probably would have had a large claim. It was a town-owned tree on the side of Alpine. It blew towards a house. It was hung up on another tree, and it was ready to fall. Luckily, we were able to get there the next day and have it removed, but that tree removal was quite one of the more expensive trees because we had to have a crane and the setup that needed to do it. So as an account that had $1,255 in it now has $5 in it. And knowing that we still have 5 more months of basically before the new budget, I suspect that we will have other trees that are dangerous in nature that need to come down. So I'm asking for $2,500 from my electricity account, which I know based on looking at the current electricity and what we spent last year, that I will have the funds in to be able to cover any expenses, at least for the next couple months. You know, I would expect that I may have to come back again, but hopefully, you know, when I get down to like $500 this time, I can know that I'm going to need some more. I will say this, and I have had this conversation with a couple of counselors. This has been a particularly bad year for trees, and I suspect that it's going to stay this way. The gypsy moss, the ash borers have really killed a lot of our trees. The big oaks, a lot of the big ashes are all dying. And we've had to take down some very, very large trees this year. We've already taken down over 17 trees this year that were dangerous, and some of them, multiple ones of them, I couldn't have put my arms around. They were extremely large trees. So, you know, every year we've been pretty good with 10,000. Next year, in next year's budget, I am requesting additional money because of what I am seeing in the trees around town, along the edges of the road.
No doubt you are correct. I had to take 7 down in my yard just because of disease and all that. So yeah, it was quite the fall to have 7 come down. Not that I wanted them down, but they were diseased. Looked good, but they were diseased. So, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I had a question. So emergency, do the town have a contract with a specific company tree? You call them, or who make a decision? I know sometimes you don't have enough time to go for price, but why the town have a specific local tree company some contra or something like this, we don't have to pay maybe 3 times for the tree falling when we have to move it?
So I would say that this was pretty much a normal price that we would have gotten from the tree company. There's 3 or 4 different tree companies we call every time we have to remove a tree. In this case, we did not. We called one and said, "Can you get there?" And his response was, "Yes, I will get there." And he was there within an hour. And that's happened before. But we do use multiple different contractors so that we keep them honest. And, we have a pretty good relationship with multiple contractors in town that we know that if we need something like this, that we have a tree that's dangerous, and it's been different ones that have done it. It's kind of like, can you get there and do it? That's like an imminent danger. When we take down a tree, they're all dangerous because they're all dead. They all have something wrong with them, but sometimes they're dead and they're standing, and sometimes they're dead and they're ready to fall onto somebody's house. In this case, we just made that decision. It's very hard to get one set contractor because all of these trees have been varying size and varying types. And sometimes you need a crane and sometimes you don't. So it would be really hard to get a set price to remove a tree.
Mr. Chair, are we allowed to know who's the tree company did the job?
You want to know who did this job?
If we allowed to know that.
I can tell you the 3 different companies that we've worked with, that we've bid work out, that work has been done in the town. Benoit, Bonin, and Advantage. All 3 of them have taken trees down this year for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lazo?
2 of the 3 were local. But anyways, Heather, my question is there any way we could maybe set it up like you set up your plowing and sanding with contractors where they would give you rates upon request? Or is that something that it's job by job?
We usually just do it job by job. We usually just call them and say, "Hey, we have this tree over here. It's marked out. Please go look at it and give us a price by Friday or by whenever, and that way we usually get a good competitive price depending on what they have going on too. Sometimes they're really busy and sometimes they have time and they want to do the work. So,
but do you call the local guys first and then Advantage?
Well, Advantage is in Charlton, so I don't know that they're not local.
They're not local in my book. Local is in Southbridge. I know
I
you.
don't know
The other
if
2
a third
companies
tree
are
guy in
from Southbridge.
Southbridge or I'll call them. So.
No, we bleed red over here. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Any other discussion, questions, comments? Council Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, I just got a text message from one of the residents. The I don't want to say 219, it's between 219 and the house after. It's an old tree falling parts, rotten completely. I'm not sure if that the time.
Joe, I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
You broke up, Council Dow. If you get that information, have it sent over and you can take a look at it. You're breaking up on your computer. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Any further discussion?
219.
Roll call.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
Counselor Lazo,
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti,
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
Yes.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
Yes.
and Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Councilor Dow, keep that information. When we get to council's forum, just bring it back up and we can refer it back to her then, okay? Because your mic was a little off there, okay?
Thank you.
Item